Hello everyone and welcome to another video of Barrel and Glass. I'm Trissa and I'm here to talk about your alcohol. So in today's video we have this Wise Monkey Indian Spiced Rum. So let's get started. Let's do a quick dive into the story of the Wise Monkey Indian Spiced Rum. So in the late 2010s, Nirvana Works International, which is a Dubai-based spirit company, began building a portfolio of very distinctive rums. They started with international inspirations like a smooth cafe rum, a crisp Mauritian white rum, and soon enough their sight turned to the spices of India. So by 2018, the Wise Monkey brand name was registered and set in motion. The concept was pretty clear that each release would capture a specific culture or flavor identity and not just to follow a generic spiced rum formulas. So by early 2024 they committed to the project, that is a rum infused with the Indian spices that would stand alongside the best in the world. And this launch was very highly successful because this received the gold medal at the London Spirits competition, which is amazing because this was the first Indian rum to gain that. Gold at the Las Vegas Global Spirits Award, silver at the Hong Kong Wine and Spirits competition. So needless to say that this was a huge success. By the late 2024, Wise Monkey Indian Spice Rum was being showcased at major industry events like Pro Wine Mumbai, and finally in 2025 the brand expanded its distribution in collaboration with Indian producers such as Sun Moon Distillery. So let's get into the making of this, what goes into making this such a huge success. So let's get into the ingredients on how this was made. So first we have the base spirit, which come from molasses, and the Indian spices. So they do have only 4 confirmed Indian spices that are used in it, which is cardamom, cinnamon, vanilla and cloves. So the brand do state that they use a blend of Indian spices, but these 4 are the only ones that they have named publicly. So other spice elements that you do get from this, namely like ginger, nutmeg or pepper, could be present, but that's just speculative unless the company do decide to go on a full release of their ingredients list. So let's get into the production process. So the very first step is the fermentation process, which is basically choosing the base. So what exactly is used here? So they use molasses. So what exactly is molasses? So once the sugar is extracted from the sugarcane, whatever it is that is the thick, dark syrup that is left is called as the molasses. So here molasses is the base for this rum. The first thing to do is the molasses is mixed with clean water and the yeast is added to ferment this. The yeast is added to maybe around 2 to 5 days. What does yeast do? Yeast turns sugar into alcohol. The second step in the process is distillation. So let's do a deep dive into how distillation for this one works. So the base of this particular rum is the molasses ferment that we just covered right now in the first step, and this goes into a distillation process where it uses column still, and it is unaged before the spices are added. So we'll get into the details. So the first step in distillation, or the first thing that they do, is to feed it to the still. So the fermented molasses liquid that we have, which is also called as the wash, goes into the column still. So at this point the liquid has around 7 to 10% alcohol in it. Why this matters for a rum like this is a moderate strength wash suits a light, consistent rum base, which will be very ideal for spicing later. How does the column still work? So you can imagine it as two tall towers, right? So the first one, which would be the analyzer column, so the wash enters near the top and flows down through the internal plates or trays, and then steam rises from the bottom, stripping the alcohol out of the falling liquid, and the vapor rises and goes to the second part. So like I mentioned earlier, you can think of it as two towers. So the second tower, which is called as the rectifier column, the alcohol vapor from the analyzer column moves here to the rectifier column, and it climbs through more plates, getting refined as in cleaner, making it high proof, and as it rises it is cooled down to bring it back into the liquid form. So if you think of it in really simple terms, you can think of column still distillation as two towers. The first one lifts the alcohol out, the second tower polishes it and until it's really clean. So you can, in very simple terms, that's what this step is doing. So once the liquid is collected in the end, you can probably distinguish it into three parts: the head, the heart, and the tail. So the head usually contains more volatile components that are undesirable. The tail contains heavier components like oil, which is also undesirable for our rum. So what we do need is the heart of it, which is in the middle. Once the liquid from the heart is extracted out, it would at that point be around 96% ABV, the liquid that we have. It is confirmed that they do the infusions right after the distillation, so we need to put so what they do is they put the heart or the liquid that they have right now to rest for a few days before the infusion of these spices. This is specifically unaged rum. That means they do not use barrels before spicing it. So that is the distillation process, which is the second step in the production process. Next, we move on to the third step, which is preparing or selecting the spices for this particular one. So the confirmed spices that we have is cardamom. So cardamom, what does it bring to the table, right? So cardamom brings the fresh, citrusy and floral notes. The second spice is cinnamon, which brings the warm, sweet spice into the mix. The third spice is vanilla, which gives in that sweet, smooth aroma. And the fourth spice that we have is cloves, which gives in that deep, rich notes. Once they select the ingredients, they are lightly crushed to help release more oils and aromas. And then we move on to the next step, which is the maceration, or you could call it as infusion. What happens in this step is the rum, the heart that we have gotten after the distillation step, is taken and all the spices are soaked in the rum for several days. So in this step, the spices that are infused are left for days in a temperature controlled atmosphere, and of course there is frequent checks conducted by the master blenders to check the level of infusion that is happening here. And then we move on to the next step, which is blending. This is important because this is where the flavor profile comes into the picture. So here all the spice infused batches are combined into like one consistent signature flavor profile. Here either they follow like a batch mixing, or maybe the spices are individually macerated, which is the detail of this is unconfirmed, but both are general practices that is used. In the first method is where multiple batches are infused with all the spices together. The second method where each spice is macerated separately and then mixed later on to get the flavor. At the end, the goal is to get your signature flavor profile. Many spiced rum do use sugar in this process, small amounts of sugar to round off the edges, but Wise Monkey hasn't officially confirmed this. So we cannot say that they do add it or do not add it, but that is definitely another possible step. And then we move on to the next step, which is the filtration process. The goal of this particular step is to remove any kind of solid particles while keeping the aroma and flavor intact. Usually it goes through two sets of filtration. First would be like a coarse filtration where large spice particles are removed, and then like the second filtration will be more refined, more like a polishing filtration that happens to ensure there is clarity in appearance, and should be done gently because we do not want to strip off any flavors while doing this process. Then the next step is to bring the liquid to its desired proof, to the desired ABV. So right now the proof is very high, so we move on to the next step, which is dilution, or also known as proofing. Here the main goal is to adjust the ABV to its final 43%. As soon as the rum comes off from infusion, the alcohol percentage is super high, so in the 90 to 96% ABV. So the next step would be to bring it to its desired percentage by adding water. So the water is added in a very gentle way because we do not again want to disturb the flavor profile here. So the water is added and the dilution happens, and the liquid or the alcohol is left to rest for like a short period so that everything in it can marry each other and the flavor integrates properly. And then it goes to the final step, which would be bottling. So let's talk about the bottle itself. The bottle that I have here is the 200 ml version of it. So as you can see, they do use like glass bottle. So the lid is a cork type, so a wooden cork. It is golden in color. As you can see, the bottle is clear, the liquid is golden in color despite it not aging in barrels. Usually the color comes in a rum when you age it in wood barrels, but here the color comes off from the spices that are used. So if not for the spices, the contents or the alcohol would have been white or like clear, right? So here, as you can see the very nice golden liquid that it fills. So let's look into the details. So here we have the label. It says the Wise Monkey Indian Spiced Rum right over there, and then we have the label right over here as well. Here we have the logo. It says the Wise Monkey Indian Spiced Rum, and right below it is the information of the ABV, which is the 43% ABV, and the quantity here it's written 200 ml. So in the back that is a small little note that is unique to this brand. So let's read that. It says, "Some nights unfold differently, whether you're the laid-back type who indulges in a glass of rum alone or one who enjoys it with the company of others. This spiced infused rum is guaranteed to take you on a sensory adventure. Let this wise monkey take you to another world. Allow yourself to savor the fine taste of Indian spices." Oh, okay. That makes me want to take a sip from this. And they do have the website written right over here. I'll just quickly put in a quick screen grab of their website as well. And the other details that are given, the barcode. Again, here the ABV and the liter is given. So this, we do have the Wise Monkey that is kind of like engraved into the bottle side over here. And yeah, I think this is a great quantity if you want to give it a trial, just to experience something new, just to try something new. And so that's it for the bottling part of it. So now we move on to the next part of this video, which is very exciting, which is the smell and the taste test. So as I go into this, I'm just going to go ahead and this up. So it does have a plastic seal that's kind of covering up this entire bottle. So I'm just going to quickly remove that. It does not have any kind of watermark or such, just something plain. Okay, so the cork I thought was completely wooden, but this seems to have like a kind of like a rubbery material over here. As you can see over here, they do have company kind of engraved at the end. So let's take a quick whiff. That smells unlike any other rum that I have tried to take a whiff of. I can immediately smell the notes of the spices from it. 100% the spices hits right away. It's got a very unique smell. I think it's giving kind of like a little bit of an Ayurvedic smell. It's I don't know how to say, like, it I have smelt this somewhere for sure. Definitely not in a rum, but I have smelt this smell somewhere. And the only thing that I can think of right now is like Ayurveda. I don't know why. The smell is so familiar, probably because of all the spices infused together. It's giving me some kind of nostalgia, but I'm not able to pinpoint what exactly it is. But besides that very distracting factor that I have going on in my brain, where it's screaming, oh, you have smelled this somewhere, it does gives you the hint of the spices that is used. You can smell hints of the cardamom and the vanilla, and definitely there is like a stronger upper hold of the clove. It is giving hints of dry fruit and honey, a bit of cocoa somewhere in there as well. So now moving on to the taste test. So I'm going to give this a little pour. I'm going to just pour it in a shot glass. As you can see, the liquid is a beautiful golden brown color, and let's give this a taste. That's really good. I was not expecting that. I personally thought that the spices are gonna like really hit me, but it is surprisingly very well balanced. It is a bit of a soft launch on your mouth, like it's not too harsh, and the warmth of the liquid just gradually goes down your throat, which is great. So it doesn't like hit you immediately as soon as you take a sip. This is very interesting for me because when I'm taking sips of drinks or these alcohols, like without any mixing, if the warmth of it is the first thing that hits, makes it a little difficult for me to understand the flavors, and it takes multiple tries. But I really appreciate the fact that the warmth comes in later, so the hit of the alcohol is not on my face, right? So I was able to immediately distinguish the flavor before the burn of the alcohol got in, even though this is pretty high in its percentage of alcohol, which is a whopping 43%, which is pretty high in my opinion. So it has a sweetness to it. So like I mentioned earlier in the production process, there is a possibility that there is added sugar. There is a possibility that the sugar comes naturally. Either way, that particular information is not official. It is inferred. It is something that I'm assuming. Because you can really tell that it is pretty sweet. Straight off the bat, you can taste the sweetness. You can taste the spices as well. The spices that stand out to me is the cardamom and vanilla. So it's giving like a very floral, sweet first entry. So as you go on sipping it further, you can also slightly taste the depth of the clove, and gives in a nice little warmth as well. Alright, so let's get into some of the food pairings that you can do with this. So as this rum has the spice profile of the four spices, that is the cardamom, cinnamon, vanilla and cloves, and also has a sweetness to it from the hints of like the honey cocoa flavor that you get. It is ideal for pairing food which is spicy and also for food that are sweet. So let's look into some examples that you can try with it. You could go for some sweet pairings, like since it says Indian spice, let's try Indian desserts, maybe like a gulab jamun or a carrot alwa. But definitely you can give that route a try, or if you want to go for like a generic sweet food pairing, you can try dark chocolate, cinnamon rolls because of the spices, like you have the cinnamon, so it could be complementary, or honey cake. You could also go with fruits like pear, apple, desserts that are based off them, maybe like an apple pie, right? And the savory, some of the examples that you can pair it with for a savory food would be grilled meat, since again this is based as an Indian drink. Maybe even Indian curries would go great well with this. Let's move on to the cocktails that you could possibly have with this. Of course, the classic way to have it would be like neat or on the rocks. You could try making interesting cocktails with this because it is spiced rum. Even any regular rum based cocktail would taste more interesting because of the flavor of this particular rum. So you could try rum and coke, which would make in this particular situation a spiced rum and coke, or a hot toddy twist, since spices are associated with like hot, it kind of complements with that, or like a spiced rum sour. If you are going for like on a fruity note or like a fruity route for your cocktails, you could try punch, like a fruit punch, or a spiced mojito, or like a ginger and rum fizz. So I hope you learned something new, and I would definitely recommend this to anyone looking to try interesting new rums. It is something that you can give it a try. You could like get something as small as this. So this is priced between 33 to 40 dirhams. And that's it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you do enjoy the kind of content I take, don't forget to click on the like, share and subscribe button, and let me know in the comments down below if you have tried this, or if you are going to try this. Do let me know. And what would you like me to do a full bottle review of next? So I'll see you next time. Until then, cheers.